Wow, I just finished this interview with Ryan Fox and I'm absolutely blown away. I was blown away by two things. Firstly, about how much money is in Christmas light sales. The guy did $1.2 million between September and the end of the year. Incredible. The other thing I was blown away by was the amount of information and the openness that Ryan Fox was able to give to us. He gave me so much information on how to make money, about how to implement your Christmas lights sales program, about how to learn more. There's so much knowledge in this 30-minute, 40-minute podcast. So I hope you guys enjoy. I know I did, and I'm looking forward to learning more about Christmas lights and starting my Christmas light journey as well. Hope you guys enjoy. Hey, if you like this video, subscribe. There's going to be more just like it. Now for the video. Hey, before we get started, what I'd like to do is I want to show some of these examples. So you're not just your average Christmas lights hanger. I mean, some of these jobs are really intricate and really big jobs, bigger than what the average, person thinks when they think about Christmas lights hanging. Ryan, so tell me how you got into Christmas lights and lights in general.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you a little bit background about how we got into, me and my business partner got into business, and that kind of goes into how we got into lights. So I actually was one of those kids at an early age, was always into selling stuff. I started mowing yards when I was 11, with my dad's mower, and then I was 16. He bought me a mower and a commercial mower and a trailer and everything, and I went out and started knocking on doors and got a bunch of accounts, and all my buddies worked for me, and I did that into the year I went to college and everything, and then it was in 2009, me and my business partner now, both were working for some other companies. I was doing sales for a tree removal company, and he was doing landscape installation. And he kind of got laid off and put into just doing sub stuff for him. So we decided, let's start a company. And so we started a tree removal landscaping company. And in the middle of a recession, we were 23 and had no money, and nobody give you loans. So we bootstrapped it and paid cash for everything and grew it over the years. And then in 2012, he was mowing his yard and was like, hey, we should hang Christmas lights in the winter because it got slow. And I'm like, nobody's going to pay us for that. Well, needless to say, we did it, and we've been doing it ever since now for Christmas lights. And we've been we got into it that year, and then a couple years later, we wound up becoming trainers actually, and it's for an organization called CLIPA now, which is Christmas Light Installation Pro Association, and
Hmm.
so we train people across the country every year to get in and do stuff like this and everything, and then we also now install. We're out of Atlanta, Georgia, but that job you were just showing, that's in Hilton Head, South Carolina. It's a huge shopping center, and then we have one in Destin, Florida as well. They're a massive job. We have a crew gone for like 6 weeks doing those. So we do residential, but we'll travel for commercial across the southeast as well.
Amazing. So you started off as a landscaper and lawnmower at age 16, and then you needed a way to stay busy during the winter time, and that's when
Yep.
you started hanging Christmas lights.
Yep.
So I'll ask you a question first about, I'm curious about how your partnership was. A lot
Yep.
of people are skeptical about partnerships in business because they can be risky or because, for whatever reason. How has it been with your partner so far running a business?
It's been actually really well. It works really well. We're exact opposites. So where I'm really strong in, he's not as strong, and vice versa. So I'm really more of the acting CEO. I'm sales, marketing. He's more operational. I can go out and do all the jobs and everything if needs be. Early on I did, but I'm more focused the sales, the marketing, that kind of stuff in the office, and he's back end. So if you're finding a partner, people like to try to partner up with somebody that's like them. If you're really good at sales, you want to partner with somebody that's like sales because you feel comfortable with them. But that's the exact opposite thing you need to do. Find somebody that's opposite of you, and then get to find roles in the company. And then it's a lot like a marriage. I tell everybody it's just like a marriage. Um, it's something you got to work at. You have to have trust. You have to make sure that y'all have aligned core values and stuff personally, because you're spending more time. I spend more time with him or at work than I do with my wife, really.
Yeah.
So it's just as you grow, you have to look at that. But I like partnerships, because if we have personal things go on, and we both have had major personal stuff go on and had to step away from the company for a month at a time or something, you have the other one there to ready to pick it up and run with it. So in that
Yeah.
sense, it's really nice to have somebody else there, and versus when you're by yourself, it's just you and your employees.
Yeah. Let me ask you, how do you handle disputes or disagreements between your partner and you?
I mean, normally, honestly, we usually see eye to eye. But if we do have something, we usually just talk. We're really good about having really good communication, so we just talk through it. And then, sometimes, we decide my way. Sometimes it's his way. It's just kind of, hey, what's best for the company? And at the end of the day, that's what we're wanting to do. Is what's one of our core values is being for what's best for the client and best for the company and best for our fellow employees. So if it's hitting those three, then that's what we need to do.
Sure. So you went from being a landscaper and a lawnmower, and at one point you decided to kind of try out the Christmas lights. Can you tell me about some of your first Christmas light jobs and how you got those jobs, what kind of jobs they were?
Yeah, so most are residential early on, and our first client actually still a client today. We still do. He moved at a new house, but he's still a client of ours after 10 years. And but that was with incandescent lights the very first year, and now everything's LED. Um, and so we made the switch after the first year. I was like, we're not doing incandescents. They're terrible. It's just they're a pain in the butt to deal with. So we made that switch. Um, but yeah, just residential. I think the first year we did about $25,000 worth of installs that first year, which would be equivalent to about $50,000 worth of LEDs nowadays. Our first year we did it, it was just me, my business partner, one person helping us, and then we grew from there. I don't even know if I don't think we did any commercial that first year. I think it was just all residential houses, and then I think the next year we wound up getting a couple restaurants and stuff like that, and started growing.
How did you get your first couple of residential jobs?
So we actually belonged to a lead service at the time that was called We Hang Christmas Lights, and that's who
Mm.
we got trained through. And then they wound up moving into Clippa, and then now since then they've separated the two owners. Um, but we partnered with them, and that's how we got a lot of our initial leads. And so they had did SEO and marketing and stuff like that. But today we get most of ours through Google AdWords, doing SEO. Um, that's honestly our biggest place where we get most leads for, well, actually majority of our leads. And then yard signs early on were really good. Yard signs, I can't, if you're trying to get out there and get out, get your name and face in front of people, yard signs is awesome to do. So I can't speak highly enough about yard signs and putting them out at the jobs or just at busy intersections.
Have you ever had any problems with yard signs? Like, because I know some people, I mean, they're called bandit signs for a reason, right?
Yep.
Have you ever got any problems?
Yeah, so I would recommend putting them out on Friday afternoon, starting about 3:30, because the city guys are going to be off, or the county guys are going to be off, and they're not going to pull them over the weekend. And then if they're really strict in your area and you can't have them out, then you go pick them up again on Sunday night or first thing Monday morning, and then that way you can get in. You won't pretty much have them out. By us, they'll like call you and they'll kind of tell you, hey, you're not supposed to put these out or whatnot. Some of the cities are a little bit stricter, but you just got to kind of learn where you can and can't put them.
Yeah.
So with that, I mean, I know some areas are way more stricter. So the good thing about us using it when we did the We Hang Christmas Lights route, we were using their name and their signs. It was 800 number, so we didn't really get
Hmm.
into calls. I mean, they would come to us, but they couldn't like really come after us per se because it was tough for them to pinpoint where we were at. So
Yeah. Now, Christmas lights, people don't actually pay a lot of money for that, do they?
no, no, they pay a lot.
Do they? Tell me about how do you price these jobs out?
So,
Yeah.
like as you see in this picture, all the bulbs, or that one even, all the bulbs on the roof line, those are called C9s, and it's by the linear foot. So we charge them by the linear foot, and then for any kind of minis that are wrapped on like trees and bushes, that's all per strand, which is like a 24-foot strand of mini lights. And then price per piece of garland, 9-foot piece of garland or a wreath and stuff like that. Like our average ticket here in Atlanta last year was for residential and everything was about $3,000. Every client was
Wow.
spending 3 grand. That
Residential
house right,
clients.
yeah, that house right there. If I remember correctly, off the top of my head, I don't know the exact figure, but I want to say that job's like close to like 4 grand or something right there.
Wow.
So
This is amazing. Now, this looks like a complicated job. All your jobs look like jobs that, your average homeowner probably wouldn't want to touch. I mean, the fact that you get lights, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but the
Yep.
fact that you can see lights, you get lights up here. I don't, did you use a ladder for that, or did you have to use a lift?
We have a lift. That next picture you showed actually has our lift in it, right there. It's a
Hmm.
towable 64-foot lift. So we have a lift, but I don't think we took it to that job. We have ladders, we have harnesses and ropes, and they have a thing called a goat and all kinds of stuff they can use for the roof. To get roof access, so it really just depends on each job's different. But if we need the lift, like that job, there you have to use it for that part of the roof, and then you have to use it to put that tower tree up right there. That's a fake tree we put up in front of that
Mm,
jewelry store.
I see. And um, and so when you price these, does it include the cost? Are the customers purchasing the lights themselves, or are you loaning them, or how does that
Yeah,
work?
we lease it to them, so we own them. They're
Mm,
all in my warehouse back there. So for that client, they pay the same price every year, unless we have a price increase, and or if they change something. That's the beauty of the lease. Like next year, if this client doesn't want to do the garland on the wall, they can take that off and say I don't know, say they have trees in the back they want to wrap instead. We can take mini lights and put it on the trees. As long as they're over our minimum, it doesn't matter. They can change it, do what they want, and I'll just take that garland and go use it at another job. So
mm,
it's pretty much paid for. Everything's paid for the first year, and then after that, it's literally like that job's almost pure profit. Besides the labor I have for it, because the next couple of years, then we replace it about every 4 or 5 years. We replace all the lights.
mm.
So you kind of have that part to do, but I mean, after that, it's the second, third, and fourth year, it's really good profit.
Hmm. And and I'm curious about so your market. So nowadays you're doing your own marketing through Google and
Yep.
SEO, things like that, and some signs. Um, do you also do Facebook ads?
Um, so it all depends what part of where in the country you're at and how it works. For us, the landscape, I mean, the Christmas lights hasn't been that great for Facebook. We're not the entry level Christmas light people. There's guys that'll go out there and hang your lights or hang, cheaper lights for a couple $100. We're not that client. That's not our client. So we don't, that's the people you get off of Facebook a lot for us personally. I know other guys I've trained and they have had really good success with Facebook. We haven't. So I just found out what's worked in our area. Atlanta is also a top four market in the country for Christmas lights. So I mean, it's I think what was it not last year, year before. Leads were down a little bit last year. The year before, I want to say we had probably close to 1,000 leads came in for Christmas lights.
Wow, in
Yeah,
one city. That
yeah.
is incredible. Now, I'm really curious how you've been able to do something that most people really, really struggle with, and you've been able to decommoditize your business. You talked about how a lot of people are paying, they're getting Facebook customers and they're charging, 100, I'm going to guess a couple $100,
Yep.
$150, but you've made a way to charge $3,000 plus per client. How do you separate yourself from the market and decommoditize your business to where you can charge those premium rates and offer a premium service?
Yep. So yeah, so this is one of the things I loved talking about is when we first were early on, we had a lower minimum, and when we were getting those lower minimums, well, guess what? You're selling a lot of lower jobs because you tell somebody your minimum's $500. Well, guess what? Now they're going to spend $800, and then you sell five of those at $500. You're at $2,500. Well, now I go to maybe four bids and I'll sell one and I'll sell it for $3,000, and I just sold one job for 3,000 versus having to sell the five jobs for the same amount of revenue. I have I have a fifth of the customers that they do, and so that means less headaches. Number one, so I'm like last year we only had 380 clients, and so
Only.
and we did seven. Well, yeah, but there's guys that do like 800 clients, but we did
Right.
seven. We did seven figures with that 300 clients.
Mm, wow.
So when you look, you got to look at it like that. So, once you do that, it opens up your sales funnel. We have a really good pre-screening process in my office. All my office staff, they are really good at pre-screening everybody. They call in, they tell them, hey, our packages start at 1,500. This is what is included on the package. If this sounds like something you would like, we'd love to set up a design consultant to come out and set it up with you and look at it and design this and come up with a package for you. And they'll either say yes or no. If they say no, then we get off the phone, we get to the next person. So we're not messing with all those lower jobs. And so it gives you the time to sell those jobs, the higher tickets that you want to do. It's a little uneasy at first because you're like, man, I'm getting all these leads coming in. I'm not converting as highly. Because, like on our power washing company, we convert around like, say, 50, 55%. And with lights, we're converting around like 30% if we're lucky. So, but I'm okay with that because the amount of revenue we're doing and we're in that higher clientele, so it's where I want to be. So I'm 100% okay with that, but it's just you got to shift your thinking and your mindset there to be like, I want to deal with those higher end clients.
Yeah, that's a big, it takes a lot of courage to turn down people that are willing to give you money. But it's a lot of times it's you're exchanging those customers for higher end customers as well, right?
Yep, exactly.
So I'd like to know about your estimating process. So you said you get them kind of like primed that this is not a cheap service. You let them know,
Yep.
hey, our minimum is 1,500. And then where does it go from there?
So then one of our design consultants, pretty much like a salesperson, goes out and they go meet with them, and they
Design
would,
consultant. Nice.
yeah, it makes it sound higher end than a salesperson, salesman or whatever. So they come out and they, hey, Mr. Smith, my name's Ryan. I'm here with Lights All Year. We're here to look at the Christmas lights, and then pretty much ask them what they're looking at, because about 20% of people know what they want. 80% of the people don't have an idea, and of that 80, only probably about 20 of them, like 20, another 20% know what they want, and then the other part of them don't really know. They just know they want Christmas lights. So
Hmm.
that only that 20%, like we get some clients that show us a picture and they're like, I've had this before, or here's my friend's house. I want my house to look like this. That's at 20%. They know exactly what they want. You just quote this. And then the other 20% know they want, hey, I want warm white lights, or I want some bushes done, or the columns wrapped, or whatever. And then you tell me what else looks good. So they're looking
Hmm.
to us as the professional to tell them what they need to do. When we're doing this, we're wanting to tell them, as you see here in this photo, it's really balanced. We did bushes on both sides of the walkway. The house is done on all, like everywhere, it mirrors it pretty much. You don't want to do bushes on one side and not on the other. So we use words like balanced, elegant, very festive, stuff like that. They're going to make them feel like, wow, this is a really nice service. I want to use them. They're providing value. They know what they're talking about, and so we pretty much walk around with them, see what they want to do. We give them ideas, tell them what looks good, have photos on our iPad, then show them, hey, this is kind of what your house would look. This is similar house to yours. This is this is a job we've done, and they see the photos and they're like, wow, that's exactly what I want. And then we pretty much work up the quote while we're there at the house with them, unless it's like a major big commercial job or really huge residential job, then we that might be a little different. But average jobs, we're working up the quote for them. We tell them, hey, let me go sit down in the car or truck or whatever. I'm going to work this up. I'll come back. Give me about 15, 20 minutes. Come back. We give them the pricing, and then because it's so much easier to get them to commit right then, especially later in the season. Early in the season, people will be tire kickers, but once it gets later in the season, there's a sense of urgency, and so we like to sell them on the spot. And then I always, if they tell me 5 things they want, I always give them a sixth option. I always get like throw a wreath in or something extra, because a lot of people will do that. Even I like to ask them if they have a budget as well. So,
Hmm.
hey, did you have a budget in mind? Well, no, I didn't really know. Okay, well, you have a beautiful home here, beautiful property. We could do so much here and start kind of throwing some ideas out. But if we do, a bunch of this, you could be looking at upwards of like, $10,000. Does that sound like where you want to be? Oh, no, no, I did not want to spend $10,000. They told me your packages start at 1,500. Okay, well, did you want to be closer to like 25, 3,500 or 5,000? What were you looking at? And then they'll usually tell you, oh, it was 1,500 to 2,000. Okay, well I'm gonna build a package that's over 2,000, and a lot of times they'll go with it. They don't tell you their highest budget. Usually they tell you where they want to start at, and then they'll usually
Mm-hmm.
go over it. So if there's an extra wreath I can throw on there for like $350, I'm gonna throw that on there, and now instead of 1,500, it's 1,850. So
Mm-hmm.
that's another way to get your average ticket up increased as well.
Amazing. Yeah, that sales process, and you can really drive value through that sales process. And when you're in the customer's home, being able to, ask for the sale that particular time. And I love the fact that you're using design consultants, and yeah, just a fantastic process. So tell me about Clippa.
Yeah. So that's a organization, and they what they specialize in is just trainings. So trainings for people to get into Christmas lights. They also offer commercial trainings. So they'll have one here. I think it's in April in California, and then one we're doing one here in Atlanta in June, and that's to teach you how to do more the big commercial jobs and stuff like that. But the other one's like an entry level. Hey, I don't know anything about Christmas lights. You come sign up. We have them different places around the country, so we'll travel around and put them on. I think like Nashville, Orlando, Atlanta, Orange County. I think there's one in Utah this year. I'm trying to think where the rest of them are. I don't know all of them. They change it up, but I know there's those cities this year. Texas, I think, has one. So it's a 2 day training. We go over basic stuff. This is the light bulb all the way to we actually go out and wrap trees and do some bushes out in the parking lot of the hotel and everything. And so you do some hands on, and it's really sets you up for your learning curve. Versus most businesses you have a year to like, hey, I want to get my pressure washing company going today. You have all year to get it going. Christmas lights, you have essentially your first year. Most people don't start hanging lights until the 1st of November, end of October if they're lucky. We've extended our season out over 12 years or 10 years, but most people have 90 days. You don't have a lot of time to make any mistakes in 90 days. So it behooves you to pay somebody to pretty much jumpstart and, get further along than you would be because you have such a short season to make that money.
Yeah. So what do you do for Clippa? Are you part of the organization?
Yeah, so I'm a trainer. I'm a certified trainer. There's the owner, Matt, me, my business partner, Brett, and then our buddy, JC. All three of us are trainers, and then the owner as well. And so we travel around and put on the trainings and this and that and everything. So, yeah, just been doing that. I just love to give back, man. I mean, I train people in Atlanta here every year. I think last year we trained like 6 people in Atlanta. And people
Wow.
always ask me like, "Well, why do you train someone in your city?" I'm like, "There's so much work here. I can't even do it all." I'm like, and there's a quote. It's a rising tide raises all ships, and I believe that 100%. And I'd rather have people out there charging the right way and installing the right way than going out there and undercutting me, and then it just hurts me for my business. So it's
Mm-hmm.
it's all about your mindset, though.
That's interesting. So, how big of a part of your business now is commercial compared to when you first started?
For lights is
Yeah.
probably about 40% of it was commercial this past year. Um, and so if you look at revenue of it, and so it's become a pretty big part of it. Most of the commercial has to be large commercial stuff needs to be installed by the middle of November or right before Thanksgiving, pretty much. So then you have my crews that do that come back and they do residential from then until about the middle of December ish. I think we did a couple jobs this year around the 20th um, but of December. But pretty much you have like a couple weeks then, about 2.5 weeks to come back and do residential. So that's as we've been in it longer, we've gotten more and more commercial jobs. So
Hmm. And can you talk to me about the process of prospecting commercial clients? And
yeah,
I'm curious if it's any different for Christmas lights than it is for other services like pressure washing or gutter cleaning and stuff like that.
yeah. So it's a longer sales cycle. All commercials are usually a longer sales cycle, especially the large jobs. Smaller jobs, not as much. If you go to a city and you do like one building, you usually can get that done really quick. But when you start getting into, you know, high five, six figures, they're gonna start putting it out for bid and requests for proposals. I don't know if you've ever worked with those or anything like thing. So when they put those out, I'm going through one right now, and it's you have to have a date that you have to have questions in by. You have a date that you have to have the proposal in by. How you have to have the proposal done. What outline that you have to follow. All that kind of stuff is in there. So it's a lot more goes into it. I think a lot of people get kind of discouraged if they haven't done it because it's a lot. Um, I mean, one of our commercial jobs, I actually met the person in Vegas at a trade show for shopping centers. I went up to the guy, talked to him. A year later, he contacted me. The vice president contacted me and said, "You met the owner and his son. They were really impressed with you. Would you come to Hilton Head, South Carolina, and bid a job for us?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so I went out there, bid it. It was like $250,000 that year. Is what the bid was. We didn't get it. They gave it back to the other company, and then that guy just did a terrible job. Didn't fulfill stuff, and so they called me back the next year. So this is 2 years now since I met him, and said, "Hey, we're not using him. We're using you, but we want to scale the job down to like 80,000." I was like, "Well, that sucks, but still a good job." Okay, so we did it. Signed a 3-year contract, and then this past year we just signed a new 3-year contract. So now we've been doing it for a total of 5 years actually now, because in between COVID they put it on pause, and then a bunch of people boycotted not going to the outdoor shopping mall. So then they came back at the last second and said, "Hey, instead of us paying you 80, can we pay you like I think it was 30,000 and just do some of the trees, so that way there's some lights here, so people are happy." So they wound up extending the contract out an extra year, but it was only a partial year. So I think now we're in the 5th year, so we have 2 more years on that contract. But that took 2 years from when I met him just to even actually bid it and then win it. So it's just a lot longer sales cycle. It's all about getting your name out there, networking with people, getting in with the cities. Another thing people don't understand either is when you sometimes on these bid lists for cities and counties and stuff, that if they send a request for proposal out, a lot of them make you either, if you don't want to bid it, you have to respond and tell them why. And if you don't, they'll kick you off of the bid list. So you want to get another bid from them. So make sure when you get those that you actually read it, and if it tells you to do that, do that. So then you're not going to miss out on another bid down the road, because it might be something that you don't do. They think it's lighting and it's street lights, and we don't do street lights. So that's why you have to just tell them, "Hey, this is why we're not bidding it."
For those bigger jobs, what kind of licensing does somebody need to have? I mean, there's probably like your residential small, guy getting started, and then there's someone like you who's been in it and doing bigger and bigger jobs. What kind of licensing is required?
So that's all going to be by state. Here in the state of Georgia, we're not, since it's temporary lighting, we don't have to have any kind of license for it. So for those, we don't have to have any besides a business license. All your insurance and everything like that, which is what the property is going to make you have anyways.
Hmm.
But so at state of Georgia, we
Great.
don't have to have any additional license. But I know like California and stuff, some of them are starting to make you have licenses. I think some of the was it Washington? I heard that was exploring, or it might have been Oregon. I don't know. One of the two was looking at having licenses for temporary lights, because it's only up for like 90 days at a time.
Hmm.
So you don't have to have like some states I heard they were making you have like a GC license or something like that to do it. So luckily
Interesting.
nobody here makes you. We don't have to have it.
Yeah, California is rough. Out here, we're required to have licenses for pressure washing as well,
Yeah.
and of course, workers' comp and all that kind of stuff. So talk to me about the numbers. You mentioned 7 figures in
Yep.
1 year hanging Christmas lights. Um, I'm just curious about, so is all of that done in one period, like 90 days?
Yeah, it's pretty much, we started at the end of September and we're done pretty much, right before Christmas. So it's about 3 months. We did just at 1.2 million this year with 5 crews running.
$1.2 million this
Yeah.
year in 4 months, running 3 crews hanging lights. That's
Mhm.
incredible. And what are your expenses on something like that? So you have the lights, you have your labor.
Yeah. So the first year you get going, you're gonna profit wise, you're gonna be looking at about what depends on your expenses, but about 30-40% profit. The second, third, and fourth year you have those lights, you're going to be looking upwards of 70, could even possibly hit 80, but most people around 70-75% profit margin, because you just have it's labor, fuel, and then your expenses to run your company. So it's not you don't have tons of overhead because those lights are already paid for. You might have a couple bulbs here and there that go out, or a couple clips or something, but it's nothing. It's major except for the new jobs you have. So that's the beauty of it. I wish we could do Christmas lights year round, because The profit margins are amazing. But it's, yeah, it probably wouldn't be making the same amount of money if you could do it year round, because there wouldn't, there's that, right, the kind of scarcity thing. People
Scarcity.
think that they're going to miss out, right? And the difference is versus power washing. Power washing, people have to have it done, right? HOAs, city are going to fine you, stuff like that. Nobody has to have Christmas lights. Like, the city doesn't come and be like, you have to put Christmas lights on your house, right? Or the HOA. So that people want it. So the way you sell and how you have to package it more to them is that it's a want, not a need. So that's why I was telling you I use those words where it's elegant, beautiful. I mean, people either love Christmas or they don't. Like, there's really not. You don't hear too many people that are like, well, I kind of like Christmas. Like, you hear people like, I love Christmas. I put my tree up like August 1st. Like, there's crazy people. And then you have the other people that are like, I hate Christmas. Like, I don't do anything. Like, so those aren't our clients. Our clients are the clients that start in August. That want to spend that money for Christmas.
Yeah. So you do training for Christmas lights.
Yep.
So you probably work with a lot of newbies, a lot of people trying to get into the business.
Yep.
And I'm curious, what are some traits that you see for people that are going to make it in the business and people that you just know right off the bat aren't going to make it?
Yeah. So
Can you think of any?
most of the people that are really successful, they have a team already built around them. So they have, whether it's some salespeople, an office person. They don't have to have a lot. You don't have to have a lot. You can have a couple employees and an office person, and like whether you're doing sales, those are the people that do really well with it. I'm not saying you can't, like a one man show or something, but you can only do so much work by yourself, right? Although there are people that are really successful. I have a guy here locally here in Atlanta that this year his goal was to do 100,000, and I started talking to him, and he wound up doing $200,000 worth of revenue this year. It
Ooh.
was him and one guy, and he was working 7 days a week. And he called me up, and he was like so ecstatic, and he bought a brand new, well, not a new truck to him, wasn't brand new, but it was a pretty fairly new truck, like a 2020 or 2021, and he was so excited after the season and everything. So, you know, I think it's just people that are driven. There's plenty of money out there to be had. There's plenty of jobs out there, but it's you got to put the work in. It's super busy time of year. My wife knows, like, hey, don't call me, ask me what time we're going to be at home. Like, I'm not gonna. I'm working every Saturday. From we work Saturdays from November 1st to like the middle of December, pretty much. It's like 6 Saturdays. and
Mm.
um and so we don't work 7 days a week, but we work 6 days a week. And so it's just, nobody wants to pay you to hang lights on December 25th or 26th or whatever. So it's like you got to think about that. And then really that's the biggest thing. It's just driven, and your willingness to work hard and then have a good team around you, I think is really key. The people that I've seen really be successful have that.
Awesome. How important is sales? How good of a salesman do you have to be, or does the service kind of sell itself?
Um, that's what I pride myself in, is my sales. I'm really good at sales, so I think it has something. I think it has a lot to do with it. I mean, I think the service does sell itself to an extent, but people decide whether they're going to buy from you in the first 5 seconds when you walk up to the door. So the service can be amazing, but if they don't like you, they're not going to buy from you, right? So if you're not charismatic and you're not, you don't know about your product and confident, then that's going to be the struggle. I mean, I had a guy I trained one year. He was a professional home builder and he retired. He used to build $1 million homes. Super successful guy, right? Called me up one day and said, Ryan, I bid all these jobs. I can't sell a Christmas light job to save my life. I haven't sold one. And he said, what's going on? And I kind of coached him up and talked to him. And he said, I'm headed to a bid right now. He said, and I coached him up and kind of told him like what I would do and how to do it. And I said, you're going to go sell this job, man. I have a feeling you're going to sell this one. You got this. And I told him some pointers and stuff. He called me up later that night and said, I sold it for $2,500. And he said, I can't believe I sold that one. I've sold, I think it was like 30 jobs, hadn't sold anything. I said, you want to know what I did?
Um,
I said, I just loaned you my confidence for a couple hours. I
Hey.
said, you're confident that you could sell homes. You weren't confident in yourself that you could sell Christmas lights. I
Mhm.
told you it could be done and showed you and gave you some like ideas. And then he went out and did it. And then he wound up having a killer season. So he was just stuck in his own mind. So if you don't think it's possible that, I had another guy, super successful guy in power washing, called me up and said, "Hey, my sales guys aren't selling Christmas lights. They just can't sell it." He paid me some money. I got on his guys call with the guys, his guys, sales guys, coached him up, told him what we were doing, what we were selling, what my salesman was selling, and that next day they went out and sold. I think between three of them, $60,000 worth of Christmas lights.
In a
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. Three
It's just
guys.
once again, it was just mental. It's all. It was just
Hmm.
mental. They see. So what happened with that situation is the owner had never gone out and sold Christmas lights. So he's telling them how to sell it, and they're like, "You don't know how to sell Christmas lights. We don't even
Hmm.
know this works." But when I got on the call and I told them what we're doing and what my salesman's putting out his numbers, then they're like, "Oh, well, if he's doing it, we can do it."
Hmm.
So I just made it real for him. Before that, it wasn't real because they'd never seen anybody or talked to anybody. And so he told me, he's like, dude, that was like the best couple $100 I ever paid somebody for an hour. He's like, thank you so much. So it's just mental. A lot of stuff is mental. It's all in your mindset.
Yeah. And I want to touch on that. I think it's amazing that I think some people would hear that, hey, that someone like you would charge $700 an hour and be like, well, no, there's no way I would ever pay that much money. No one person ever deserves that. But when you look at things from a return on investment standpoint, and you think of, well, this guy is going to train my crew and he's going to, and he has the ability to 10x or 50x my employees' sales. I mean, that makes that 1 hour that you're spending. I mean, the fact that you can do it in an hour means that you should be paid, five, $10,000 for that 1 hour.
Yeah.
So just the return on investment mindset that and entrepreneurs need to have, I think, and not think about like the one-time cost of things. I wanted to ask another question about the marketing. So one of the biggest expenses of businesses and service businesses is going to be marketing.
Yep.
And what what percentage is your goal? Do you have a percentage goal? Like some people are saying, "Oh, I have a budget. I want to spend, that budget mindset, right? I want to spend $1,000 a month on ads, or I want to spend $5,000 a month on ads." How do you think about ad spend? How do you think about marketing budget?
Yeah. So it's funny. A buddy of mine that is power watching, I was on the call with him last night. He called me up and was just chatting, and that was his question. It was about marketing and sales. And so I just worked it backwards for him. So I said, well, how much you want to do a month in pressure washing? And so, I mean, same thing as with lights. And he told me the figure. So I said, okay, well, what's your cost per lead cost you? He said, well, I'm not 100% sure. I said, well, you need to know that. I said, let's just say it's $40. So if you do the math of say you want you want to do $30,000, right? So $30,000 and your average ticket, let's just say $1,000. So that's going to be 30 jobs you have to sell for the month. Well, what's your close rate? If your close rate just say 50%, that's 60 jobs you have to bid to get those 30 jobs. So 60 times 40, that's $2,400 you need to spend a month in your ad spend of whatever ads you're doing. If as long as you know what you're doing. I mean, obviously, if you don't know what you're doing, it's a brand new service. You're going to kind of have to take some shots and see what works. But with him, I told him, I said, work it backwards, and he was like, "Oh, that's way more than I'm spending now." And I said, "Exactly." But you asked me how to get you to $30,000 a month in revenue. And so I think we were at last year. I haven't pulled it up. I haven't looked at it recently, but I think we were at about 6% was our marketing budget for us is what we spent. So we have such a with the lights we have such a return rate about 85% come back every year. So
85%. That's
yeah,
amazing.
so that's really good. So as we're selling more, it's just because we're growing and to fill in that little bit because people move, somebody gets divorced or we're going to Hawaii this year for Christmas. We're not going to do it. We'll do it next year, kind of thing. So those kind of things happen. And then you have some people that just do it for a year and they're like, it was good, but I don't really want to spend 2 grand again next year, kind of thing, which happens. It's fine. But so for that, we don't have to spend a crazy amount right now. Early on, you have to, but once you get that client base built, it's already there. So
Mhm. Yeah. And so we got about 5 minutes left, and I want to ask you a few more questions
yep,
for the newbies. Um, what advice would you have for somebody that's interested in getting into Christmas lights hanging or
yeah.
lights hanging in general?
So number one, get trained. Not just because I do that. There's other companies out there that do training. I don't honestly. At the end of the day, I think our training's the best. So I would say go with ours, but go with anybody's. Get trained. Like ours is about $1,500 for two people for 2 days, plus your expenses and whatnot. Like it just sets you on a course for to get hit the ground running. So I would highly recommend that. Number two, if you can, if you're already thinking about doing it, we have our Clipicon, which is our big conference coming up here at the end of March. I'm going to be speaking there, actually about sales, closing the deal and everything. And then there's tons of people speaking out there, and it's going to be awesome. There's like 200 people supposed to be there or something, and that gets you in front of a lot of people, a lot of vendors, just talking to other people that are doing this. Because I think anytime you go to those shows, it's not necessarily the speakers, it's the other people you meet and those relationships you build and networking. So I think that's huge. So I would highly recommend that. And then there's Facebook groups as well. Clippa has one. There's a bunch of Christmas light ones out there. Get in the Facebook groups, do research, just immerse yourself in, whatever you can. Because there's so much on there to, YouTube has videos, all kinds of stuff.
So where is Clipicon?
It's in Vegas, actually. March, I'm going to tell you the wrong dates. It's March, is it 24th and 25th in Vegas.
Okay, is that a Friday and a Saturday?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Clipicon, and it's kind of like a trade show, or is it more like trainings and stuff like that?
So there's some trainings the day before. You can do some trainings the day before, and then the Friday, Saturday, there's a bunch of speakers going speaking, and then they also have a trade show open as well with some of the vendors, and they have booths up, and you can talk to them and whatnot, and then so it's 2 days of pretty much that going on.
And what does the Clippa training look like? It's
So
2 days, right?
yep, it's 2 days. So the first day is pretty much all classroom. We go over everything basic to this is a C9 light bulb. These are mini lights. There's videos on how to wrap a tree, how to connect power. Everything. We go over everything the first day, and then the second day we do about half in the inside and then half outside, actually doing hands-on stuff. And then the second day is a lot. We go over marketing, sales, tactics, all that about talking about how to get a deposit. I mean, pretty much it sets you up from the beginning to the end, of what you need to know.
Okay, great. Wow, what an amazing business. And you as an entrepreneur, just being able to bring something that could be a commoditized $500 service to a premium service where you're charging $3,000, all through the quality of work, your sales process, the sales meeting, and with the support of Clippa behind you. I know I'm excited to check out Clippa. It sounds like $1,500 is an amazing investment where you're going to get who knows, 1,000x return on that if you dive into it.
Yep.
The Clippa Facebook group, I know I'll be joining that to learning more about Christmas lights. I just want to thank you very much for your time. We know it's very valuable. And do you have anything else that you'd like to talk about or would like to say?
No, I just want to thank you for letting me come on here and talk about it. And then if anybody has anything, Ryan Fox, you can hit me up on Facebook. And then you can, also look at Clippa. It's clippawebsite.com if you want to look into that. But I'm always available. I have a VA, so if I'm busy, she'll answer on Facebook, and then I'll get back to you, or whatnot. But we could set up a time to chat if anybody wants to talk more about Christmas lights or about getting into it. I'm always, I love talking to people, and we'll just set up a calendar time and we'll go from there. But biggest thing, man, is I've said it multiple times, is just mindset. Is I'm a huge mindset person, and whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. So it starts in there, and you change your mindset, and you'll change your life. So
Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. I love that.
yep.
Thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to checking in with you and hey, keeping in touch with you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
All right.